Hello, I am Allison Lane. I am the host of the Creative Nonfiction Community, and you are here because you are a writer, you want to be a writer, you know a writer, you love a writer, you're supporting a writer, or you're an amazing reader and you want in on all the things that writers, experts, entrepreneurs, thought leaders, memoirists, poets, it doesn't matter, any kind of writing that you're doing, we all are, unless you're scribbling in a corner and then putting it away. When we write, we're really trying to write in a way that someone else can see and that someone else wants to see. So today we have an expert copy coach with us who is my copy coach, because even experts need experts. Because when you are a solopreneur or when you're creating something from your own mind, you can't be the drafter, the reviser, the polisher, and do it all yourself and it be shiny and attract people. You really do need some help. And so I needed help and I sought that out and I got it. Let's hop into today's discussion, which is about creating an engaging narrative. This is something that I think that we're all trying to figure out. So I'm bringing on today Danielle Weil, expert copy coach, launch maven, and really helped me level up how I talk about my services, my mission, how I help nonfiction authors and people who should be build their author ecosystem, which is earned media and paid media and corralling the street cred that lifts them up and elevates them in their zone of genius. So Danielle, welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome. I'm so glad that you're able to make the time. Well, why don't we start with how you got started doing what you're doing? Because you have managed so many launches and so many different business communications for different types of people and helped them make hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah, I think that's an undercount.
It is. It sounds like it. And the thing is, we all know these figures, these coaches, Todd Herman, and his books are legendary, right? So tell us how you got started.
Okay, so the real story begins, and this is not usually how I share my bio, but why not? Y'all are writers, you get it. It started at the age of 3 when I first learned how to read. And from then on, I was a reader, I was a writer. That was it. That was who I was. I went to NYU, majored in English literature, minored in creative writing, wanted to work in publishing, and then the 2008 recession happened and I met this lovely Israeli guy and ended up moving to Israel. That's a story for another time. And at the same time, I got into copywriting and realized that, hey, I'm actually pretty good at this. And hey, it's kind of fun. My dad's a salesman, but he's like the old-fashioned get on the phone and chat with people kind of salesman. And I realized that I inherited his sales genes, but in the written word. And so that is my superpower. I weave in my background in literature and writing and thinking about narrative and marry that with direct response, persuasive sales copy to do it in a way that is true and authentic and feels like you and doesn't feel salesy. What you're doing is building a bridge for your ideal people to walk across. Like you build it, they go, oh my gosh, I love what's on the other side, let's go. And I have been a working copywriter for the past 16 years. I have been a coach and a copy coach and a marketing consultant for the past 6. And over that period of time, I've gotten a chance to work with some amazing, amazing people, both 7- and 8-figure business owners who
I'm pointing
are
to myself, like amazing
I'm
people.
getting there.
Not 8-figure, not 7-figure,
yet.
like, whoa.
7,
Okay.
but people like Selena Sue, Todd Herman, Ryan Levesque, people who, in the industry behind the scenes writing their launches. I think the number is like 12 or 13, 7-figure launches and counting. But what I love doing, and that's fun, that's great, pays bills. I love working with business owners who are still kind of writing it themselves and getting it figured out and honing their message, because it's hard to do for yourself. Anybody who tells, oh yeah, let's just talking about yourself is hard. Full stop.
Yeah.
Period. Right? Raise your hand if true.
Yeah.
And that is where I love being able to ask the right questions, pull that out of you and reflect it back in a way where people go, oh yeah, that's it. We got it. And so that is what I hope for us to talk about today, and hopefully get to some fun ahas about how to make that process easier.
Well, I'm so glad, and I want to explain too that not everyone here is a business owner, but we are all truly selling our work. I don't care if it's just your bio. It's not just your bio that goes with your pitch to a literary magazine is sales copy. It doesn't need to stank like sales copy. We don't want it, but we do want it to be interesting and lean in, because if it's boring, then people glance over it. Your social post is also sales copy, because you are inviting someone to engage with you. If it reads like a bunch of throat clearing, then nobody cares. So Danielle, and if you're a memoirist, some of the memoirists in this group, some of my clients say, well, I don't want to sell. I don't want to, if they're interested, they'll like it. Like, but yeah, but you're not even saying, come see me here. When people are actually do like what you've written, maybe they see your piece on the Huffington Post or your local newspaper. And if your bio isn't inviting, it's like you're slamming the door in their face. Allison lives at home with her family. Thank you. That's like a big flick in the forehead. It's a please go away. Please don't look for me. And something as simple as the bio or the opening lines on a website, which every writer should have. I don't care who you are. We should all have websites, even if it's just one page. Those opening words are often the hardest, because they are the sort of highest level of a like, what do you do kind of thing. Right?
There's a rule. A short copy is harder to write than long copy.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's if you've got more words, you've got more chances to maybe get it. If you've got, a one sentence to get it right, it feels like it might be easier, but it's really much harder. And you're correct in what you say, in that everything is sales copy. Even if you don't consider yourself in business, everything, if you don't promote yourself, nobody's going to do it for you.
Well, that's for sure. You have to be your best marketer. And if you can't tell someone the value you bring to people, not just your job description or your job title, like I well, then it's up to them to interpret that, right? So when I know in the email I sent out, I explained that I was once at a major conference for the best place to work, because I used to do corporate branding in another life. And the CEO of the Mayo Clinic was there talking about how people were doing a documentary on the Mayo Clinic, and they spent all this time interviewing the CEO. And as they left, they saw a custodian coming out of an operating room, and they just sort of happened by and said, "Oh, what do you do?" And she said, "I save lives." And they said, "You know, what do you mean?" And she said, "Do you know how many staph infections can happen if I don't do my job sanitizing this every surface of the operating," I think they called it the theater. And they got permission to go in the theater, and she pointed out to all the places where that people can miss, and that those details can actually kill people if they're not taken care of. She knew the value that she brought. It's not about the act of her responsibilities. Oh, I clean floors. No, it's this greater mission, and she understood that and her role in it so well that it was like, without a thought, I save lives. And with that, the CEO's interview got cut from the entire documentary. What is wrong with me? Documentary. And it's when someone asks you, "Oh, what do you write about?" And you start telling them, about the 7th chapter of your book, or about your latest essay, or you say, "Well, sort of like this or sort of like that," you might as well just shoo them away, right? So so everyone here, and we have a banner crowd today. So hello, everybody. This is freaking awesome. For a year, I've been saying, we all need this. I don't want to know your job description, and please do not put on your website, "I'm a writer." Like, Allison's a writer. Yes, we know. But what do you write? What do I get from that? I write about this. Great. What do I get? How does that help me?
That's the key piece there.
So how can, yes, I'm going to let you talk in a minute, but I want to make sure that we get to some to-dos, because I know the need, but you're the expert. And everyone here, there are service providers, there are practitioners, there are actors and memoirists and coaches and poets and pet psychic, and I see you, Liz, and even novelists. What's your advice? And start from the beginning and talk really slow.
Okay.
You could talk regular, but.
All right. So let me actually just do a quick show of hands here. So if you don't have your camera on and you can safely do so, please do. If not, just put it in the chat. Raise your hand or say yes if you would consider yourself a business owner in addition to being a writer. Okay, so we've got a few. Kind of, sort of. Okay.
Yeah.
Not sure.
Not sure. How many of you would like to have other ways to monetize your expertise, or are currently doing that other than your book?
Oh, Brian has his whole hand up.
All right. We got some here. Cool.
Jazz hands.
Both hands.
All right. Awesome. So that is most of the room here, I think, who is most. Well, so we'll just for my own my own knowledge here. And let's ask one more question, and feel free to put it in the chat. When it comes to marketing yourself, what is your number one biggest struggle? Just one. There might be what is the number one thing that gets in your way? When you sit down, you're writing your book, your essays, that flows. You sit down to write your website, your bio, your something like.
So we're getting confidence, overwhelm, growing the audience, finding my audience.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Finding my reader. Ooh, it's the finding.
Finding. Where are they? Where are they all hiding?
Mm-hmm. Overwhelm again from Eileen and Liz. Yep. Sounds like we have some themes here.
We have some themes.
Yeah.
Where are the people maintaining privacy? That's interesting. Okay. It's like this feeling of like, I don't want to share. And I get that. Okay. This is good. Now, reaching an audience, right? It's like, where are my people? Where are they? Not wanting to an author okay. Not sure what that means there.
Not wanting to be an author product. Is that what you're saying?
Not wanting to be an author. Okay. I get it. Right.
Yeah.
One more question for you, and then we'll dive in. What is, when I say sales copy, the first thing that pops into your head? Okay, call to action. Good.
Puffery. Yes, Eileen. My reaction is blech. Like no one wants to be sold to because it smells bad.
Okay. Keywords, translation. What is the first thing that pops into your mind when I say sales copy? Sales copy, copywriting.
Subtlety, short copy with power within.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, good. Very helpful.
All right. I'm freezing out?
Oh, no. Carol, you're freezing. So.
Okay.
Yeah. So Anne says shtick. Yes. Like it.
Right. So the question is, what comes to mind when you think of sales copy? Speaks directly to my needs and not too long. Okay.
I'll put the question in the chat, but go ahead. And
yeah. Question, right. Now, we're overwhelmed. We're like, where are our people? Confidently put myself out there. How do I find them? And then we've got over here these feelings around what sales copy is, which is some of it shtick, it's puffery, it's we want it to be subtle, we want it to feel powerful, we want there to be calls to action. But some of what I'm hearing is there's a lot of negative connotations surrounding this idea of being salesy, right? We get it. Nobody wants to be sold to. Allison says, bleh. And how do we reconcile this fact that we are our own best, marketer? If nobody does it for us, nobody's going to do it for us. We need to do it with, okay, but that means that I have to go and write copy, and that feels icky. So we have, in many ways, this friction that happens as we're sitting down to write, because they have all these stories of what that really is versus I know I have to do it. And that just create so much tension and so much, tell me if this is resonating, so much like, I know I have to do this, but I don't want to. Like, how do I make this feel good? How? Please tell me how. We're going to talk about how. Right? We're going to talk about it. We have something someone else needs. We're fulfilling a need. They can't say yes. If they don't know about it, give them the opportunity, right? And you may have heard people reframe sales for you, right? Sales is about, giving people the opportunity to have a transformation, solve a problem. And there's an important energetic exchange that happens when money changes hands to do that, because when people pay, they pay attention. And so in many cases,
moment, Danielle.
In many cases, it is in service of them to pay. Has that been true for you? Like, if you join a program, pay for a thing versus something that's free, which are you more likely to take action on? The thing you got skin in the game on. There you go.
Yeah.
So just a moment of reframing and maybe clearing out some of this about copy, right? Because you all are writers. I love coming in here and talking to writers. Like, you get it. I don't have to tell you to be clear and simple, grab attention, be descriptive, show not tell. You get it. So many of the things that I have to tell business owners who aren't necessarily writers, like, we don't have to talk about that. What we have to talk about is how to not necessarily start from what you want to say, but turn around and look at things from the perspective of your ideal reader, your ideal client, your person, the person you want to reach. And there's a reason that I asked you in the beginning, what is the number one thing that you struggle with when it comes to this? Because I wanted to know where you are and go from there, and be part of building that bridge is knowing where people are starting from, knowing how to reach people where they are. And so if you have your story that you want to share, and that is so important, that's what people want, that's what people need, but they may not necessarily be able to see that unless you meet them where they are. So let me know if that's making sense, and then we'll dive into the narrative framework that I teach, which is essentially the only copy framework you'll ever need. You'll start to see it everywhere as we go through it.
Let me say, before you go into that, everyone needs to connect with Danielle on Facebook or Instagram or wherever you like to interact, because her tips that I get, and I see, they're such good reminders of, just they're super actionable, and she delivers them in a way that I'm able to be like, oh, yep. And it's, it gets in there and soaks in, and it's just enough to help me actually write an email or to start writing emails like I'm writing to one person. I mean, gosh, that's nice. Or to flip things around. So it's Danielle K. Weil, W.
on Instagram. And then I have a free resource that you can grab that is 30 subject line shortcuts. So this is if you're writing emails to your list, writing posts, writing whatever, this is just to give you a jumping off point for inspiration. Totally free. You will get emails from me afterwards. I deliver lots of value in them. You can
It's a lot. I don't think I even have that. Yeah. Maybe
I'll grab it. I remind people in Copy Lab about it a bunch. I should have.
No, I'm sure you did, but
it's free, but possibly one of the most valuable things I've ever created.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am not on Twitter.
No, you made a face.
Not on Twitter. Not on Twitter. I don't know.
Now,
Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn.
LinkedIn. Okay, good. I want to make sure that it's so important that we get to the narrative framework, because whether you are selling a service or you want to sell a service or you want to invite people back to your website or you want them to look for you on Instagram, that's all sales copy, but you're also you're engaging. You can write an engaging post and no one's going to know about it, or no one's going to go from the post to your website unless you write copy that is inviting and makes them lean in. And even this email, Christine made a comment of like, oh, people don't show up for free, and I agree. But when you have to pay, people pay attention when they have to pay, right? That's what Danielle said. But even these webinars, I used to just post the Zoom link in the Facebook group, and people didn't show up. They would say they wanted to, and they didn't show up. And it was hard for me because I would have to post over and over and over again, which was very time consuming. And the way that the Facebook works and every social media works is even the people who are there, only 3% of them see the actual post. So it might have not been something that you see. So as soon as I said, you know what, if you want to come to these, you have to register. That way you get the replay or you come live, either or. And it also is much easier for me to manage because this is a free group and is run by one person. Wow. So people show up here for free, but it wasn't really free. You did have to give me your email address, and you have a little skin in the game. And also I deliver a lot of value and tips and stuff. So you're getting something that's personal.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to get my arms around that because the first year I was like, I don't want to bother anybody. Just put this out there. But you know what? This is better.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm not saying never do anything for free. That's not, but it just that it is okay to sell. It's, in many cases in service of people to have that exchange of money for value. Like, it's cool. We like it. We like it over here. We like making money. Who likes making money? We like it.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
So the narrative framework.
Narrative framework is, let me preface this with, again, I'm talking to a crowd of writers who might have feelings about what a narrative is. Let's define how I'm using it. And when I talk about sales copy, like I talk about the difference between story and narrative. So the way many people who are not writers will show up and tell a story is they will show up and tell the story in a very linear fashion. Like, all right, this morning I got up, I went to the grocery store, and then I came home, and then, this happened, and I got on a call, and there's lots of details that don't necessarily belong in there, and it's also not relatable. When I say narrative, I say you are carefully selecting how you tell a story, which details to include to move someone across a path, across a bridge, right? So just give me a thumbs up if that's making sense and we're all on board with yay sales narratives. All right. 4 pillars here. We've got 4 parts to it that I will break down step by step, and then we can potentially workshop some of them. Okay. Where we always start is the problem. Okay. Number 1 is the problem. And when I say problem, in many cases, I'm talking to, people who have offers that are solving a specific problem for people. What we can expand it to include is where your person is at in the current moment. Where are they? If you are, a person who is this, a mom who's overwhelmed by everything. If you are an author who would love to get a book deal, if you, who are you? What are you struggling with? What's standing in the way? What does life look like? What's the current reality? That's part one. Part two is, and that essentially serves to call out who you're talking to. Who is this for? Be like, hey, yeah, you should read this. Yes, you, I'm talking to you. And it also calls out who it's not for. So the more we get nuanced about this, without being too detailed, we can talk about that later, the better, the more likely we are to get people's attention, the right people. Cool, problem. Next piece here is what I call story. And what I mean by that is your story, but not your entire story, your story in the way it butts up against the problem. Okay? And the phrase that goes with it is, I get it. Right? You're over here, life looks like this, things look like this, I get it. And that is where you establish your credibility. You talk about your experience, whether it's your lived experience or your experience working with people who have the problem that you're solving, right? Over here. And it can be one or the other or both, but your story in a nutshell. Next piece is discovery. And this is the hinge that kind of makes it all work. This is the moment where people go, oh, okay, I get it now. And that is, in the way that I teach it, is until I discovered, right? And that moment of I discovered, or I realized, or I understood, or I found out, that moment is the thing that your people over here with the problem need to know that they don't know.
I want to butt in here and say this is relevant whether you're a poet or a novelist or a memoirist. And I'm right before this meeting, I met with a client who's a memoirist who is 70 years old, and she doesn't want to be salesy, but I'm now realizing that there's more that we can do, because her memoir is about its plot, but it is literally about women's wisdom and how alone she felt because women's wisdom is not captured the way that it should be, or handed down, or available. So if I were, if I could have her on the phone again, and I might make her a loom and send it to her now. But the problem is, women's wisdom isn't handed down. We don't live in multi-generational homes anymore in this country. And wisdom is lost, or it's only shared orally. And if that's you, and you're frustrated by that, or you feel alone, I get it. I've been there. And now, and here's why, now I'm 70 and I just wrote my memoir, my first book, to capture this. And now I'm talking about it and I'm giving it to you. She doesn't charge for anything, and she's not going to.
Mhm.
but she had to develop a website from scratch. And that was hard for her because she kept saying, I don't want to be salesy. I don't want them to have to come. This is just, they're here for them. Like, well, you still
Mhm.
have to make them understand why they would want it. So this is the perfect conversation. I just wanted to bring that back because we have a lot of folks who are writing about themselves,
Mhm.
and you are also selling your book, or the act of offering, read my article is,
Mhm. Well,
please.
here's the thing
Yeah.
about this. Here's the thing about this framework. And the last piece is solution. And we'll talk about that in a second in the context of how it all comes together. But the discovery piece, the thing that you want people to know, the thing that your lived experience, wisdom, expertise has given you to put out into the world, that's the discovery. This is like, what do people need to know? Why did I write this book? What do people not realize that I have to share as a result of what I've been through, what I know, and why does it matter? That's the key piece here, is why should it matter to this busy person over here who's scrolling Instagram and driving to pick up their kids and worrying about their bills and, you know, deleting 50 bajillion emails? You're competing, we all are, for people's attention, and it's a scarce resource. So if the question is, why do we need to do this at all? Well, that's the reality that we live in. And when you can break through that, the first step is really understanding where somebody is and how, again, your message, what your book brings to the world, what your message brings to the world slaps up against that, and like, here, I'm gonna stick to you over here, and something about it pulls them further in. So the discovery, you already have it. And we can workshop, if you'd like to workshop a little bit, we might have some time, some minutes for that. But that the connection of where is somebody, what is this really about in a way that it relates to them is the key movement here. I'm sharing this because of that, but I'm sharing this because people over here with this problem, with this experience, with this lack of knowledge need to know this. So that's making sense. Now, the last piece here is solution. Okay, so the discovery and the solution are not necessarily the same thing. The discovery is, here's what I discovered. Here's the deeper realization that I had. Here's the deeper understanding that you need to have. And now that you know, what do you do about it? And what you do about it is the solution. So whether it is your framework, what you teach, your program, working with you, buying your book is like the natural next step. Like, here, I am going to show you why this matters.
The lesson from your memoir, the inspiration from your poetry, the journey you get to take in your sci-fi trilogy.
Yeah. I have, you and I have a mutual friend in Miriam Schulman, and in working with her and her community of artists, it's some similar feelings of like, well, how does this framework work? I'm selling art. I'm not solving a problem. I'm just selling art. Well, and I challenge that, and I say, but wait, your ideal buyer, your ideal person is out there wanting something. They're missing something. They want joy. They want a feeling of peace. They want to smile every time they look at the painting on their wall. They want to feel connected to nostalgia. Something in your work reminds them of something from their past. It all connects. So we may not call it a problem per se, but it's a lack, it's a need, it's an emotional gap that this art is coming to fill. And when we frame it in those terms and tell the artist's story and how it relates to that, that's when magic happens. Problem, story, discovery, solution. This narrative is kind of a key asset in your business. When you create it, it becomes sort of the foundation that you can draw on when you need to create a shorter bio, when you need to create website copy, when you need to create, a landing page for your program, right? So doing this, as long as it needs to be, it's worth it to have more detail in this core narrative document and then be able to pull things out and not have to write from scratch when you need to come up with something. So you can have the long version of this, which is the full narrative. You can then have the short version of it that becomes this crystallized version of it. But going through the process of really laying it all out step by step, building the bridge, lets you then distill it down to the essence. And Allison, I think that was kind of our experience going through it the first time, that we were able to get to like author ecosystem after we went through, all right, well, what are the problems? What's happening? What is the moment, of transformation? What's the moment of discovery? What's the solution? And it's kind of a process. So, and then it accordions out into all of the things you need to create for your business, your brand, etc. For everyone in the room, I don't know who needs to hear this, but it is okay to be polarizing. It is okay to say what you think, even if it may offend some people in some way. Not everyone is going to agree with you. Those are not your people. The people who do need to hear how you put that stake in the ground and said, no, really, this makes me so, those are your people. Those are the people who are going to get it. And they won't be able to find you and relate to you in that way if you don't make that stand.
I think this is so important for Liz, for all the memoirists, for people who aren't going to sell something that's money, but you do want people to read your work. And if you water down the why of like, why should you read this? Because everyone should be accepted as the way that they are. Like, ugh, it's boring. And the more you can say what you actually mean without like saying it like you're at a PTA fundraiser, like, how are you doing? Good. It's just dull. So, whether you're someone who's like an advocate or sharing a personal experience that can be helpful to someone else, not because they're going to enjoy reading about your tough experience, but because there's a lesson there. And the lesson is, stay away from people who are like, it's okay to divorce your parents when you're 13 because they're jackasses. And Dana is saying, thank you for saying it's okay to be polarizing. Yes, everyone is hypersensitive. And also, the people you think are competitors, your audience might not even know them.
Might not even know, no idea, right?
No idea.
And so what matters is, in where you are in relation to your competition, like who out there is in the similar fields. That, where you are positioned in relation to them, and that informs your content. You don't necessarily have to call it out all the time.
Yeah. Well, this is a great place to stop. Everyone go to dwcopy.com, follow her. It's really, really meant to help. And I can tell you, personally, Danielle has helped me so much, but I think she's providing so much value with everything she's putting out there. And I'm not an affiliate and I'm not getting paid and we've never met in person. And, but this is what we do. This is what we do. We're just helping each
Thank you.
other.
Thank you all
appreciate
for
it.
having
Thank you
me and
all.
for your time and attention and participation. It is always a pleasure to, oh, I got snaps. It is always a pleasure to come and be in the room with writers and smart people who get it. So thank you so much.
All right. See you December
Grab it.
1st, 8 p.m. Eastern, Compassionate Critique. Bring your stuff, bring your bio, bring the opening page of your website, bring it. And in the meantime, put it in the discussion board. You know, Danielle's in the group.
You can,
Yeah, she
I am.
is.
You can tag me in there.
Yeah.
Feel free.
Yeah. Tag her. She'll help. See you soon, guys.